right, so welcome back. This time we're going to do an assignment. I was lazy and I used the same graphic for insert and for add, but this time it is actually an insert, and we'll talk about why this one is an insert and not an add. And it's because it does both add and edit, which are separate in this case. So first we have to look at what is the form that's coming to us. So the form is going to insert assignment. And same game as before. If you wanted to, you could go into main.py and you can see the insert assignment that's getting handled by the insert assignment action. So in here, the insert assignment action, this is the one we're about to write. So that should be obvious. There's a couple things that are passed in to this form. There is the assignment name, which is an obvious thing. You need an assignment name. And then it's also passing a assignment key. Now, if you were to go look at the UI, you wouldn't see the assignment key anywhere because that's a hidden input. But there are always these two fields coming in. So there's the name, and then there's the assignment entity key. So these are both coming your way. And then let's look at what we're trying to do with them. So what we're trying to do with them is we're trying to make an assignment. So an assignment needs to have a parent that is that magic key, which is entity, and then whoever's logged in, their email address. It is just going to get a random ID, so you're not going to specify anything on the ID. And that is actually why we need the insert, right? Because it might be an add, and if there's an add, then there's going to be no entity key present. Or it might be an edit, and if it is an edit, that means you've got an entity key and you're fixing it. And I kind of call these things together insert, right? That's kind of Dave Fisher made up words, but those are the words that I use. So we're definitely going to have to assign a name to him, assign a parent, and we're going to have to see, like as an early step, which of these two paths am I going down? All right, let's go try to write some of this code. So we're actually going to, look ahead a little bit, and we can see that last time we needed a user, and you know what, we're going to need a user again this time. It's safe to just call this, and you're going to get something back, because in the app.yaml, just kind of as a little reminder, over in the app.yaml, we require login. Usually, if you're not requiring login, you would have to check to say, hey, did I get a user when I called this? But here we know we're going to get a user. So that's one thing we're going to have to do. The other thing that I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to start by just pulling off my two request fields. So I just kind of paused it for that. But the two names were assignment name and assignment entity key. You can pause the video and get those things typed in. And I just created a variable called name and entity key. So those are just kind of getting started. And then I'm going to have to, since this one is an insert, I'm going to have to go down one of two paths. There's tons of ways that you could decide which path to go down. If you trusted your, whoever's doing your front end stuff to simply not send this field if it doesn't exist, you could just say, if it exists, then move on. But you know what? You don't trust them. Whoever wrote it, I don't trust that guy either. He might have sent me something that was blank. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say if the length is greater than 0, then I'm going to go down one path. And so that path is, so I'll just go ahead and say in words. So this one is an edit. And so the first thing I want to do if it's an edit is I want to convert that entity key into an actual key. Maybe a better name for this would have been URL safe entity key, right? There you go. That's an even better name for this thing. And what we're going to do is we're going to convert it into an actual factual key, and we're going to use the constructor that says create a key using URL safe, the URL safe parameter of this guy, which we just got. And at this point, you should have an assignment. You have a key to an assignment. If you want to actually get the assignments, you're going to need to say key.get. And that's what's going to give you the actual entity assignment. Let's say you were going down another path. So the other path that you might go down is that this is an add. And for adds, there was nothing coming in, right? So we're going to simply create a new one. So we're going to say assignment is equal to assignment. We're going to have to set the parent. So that was one thing that we had to do. So So we're going to use that utils method to our advantage. Get parent key. We're going to pass it user, so that's great. ID, we don't have to set because we just want a randomly generated ID, so nothing big on that. And then to be honest, you could go ahead and specify the name here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that in the next step. That way, it doesn't matter which way I got this. And then in the next step, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say on the assignment, set the .name equal to name. And again, if you want to make your code shorter, that's the only place we're going to use name. So if you wanted, you could actually just move that down there, and that's fine too. To be honest, either style is fine with me. This one I used in 2 places, so what the heck, I'll keep it off as a variable, but this one I only used in 1 place, so I break it off there. After you pull it off, you need to put it in, right? And so editing the local variable is great, and that's fun, but it's not till you say .put that something actually happens. And it's just a little reminder, it doesn't happen now. It actually writes an event and says, hey, data store, do this at some point, right? And so it goes off and it does that at some point. And because we're using strong consistency, your queries on the other end will wait until that finishes before they reload the page. The last thing we have to do is we need to say self.redirect. And what we could do is we could use our typical self.refer, but we're actually going to do something a little bit sneakier than that. This app is set up to be a little bit smart. And what it does is it's got the active assignments. And if you pass in the active assignments by saying assignment.key.url safe, what it'll do is it will make the page the user sees be specific to that assignment. So this little thing, it's really just kind of a little feature, right? It pre-selects that as the active assignment. When you say add grade, it uses that assignment by the default. And so by passing this in as a parameter to the get page, it's going to do some smart things. Let's try it. So we should be able to add and edit assignments. So I'm going to click on refresh. I sometimes forget to do that. So I'm going to click on refresh. And I'm going to start adding assignments. So I'm going to add an assignment that says lab 1. And it's going to explode. It's going to say, parent, I was expecting a string. And that's because I typed utils.get assignments. That was a disaster. Of course, what I meant to say was get parent key. I let it autocomplete, and that hosed me. So let's go back, and yeah, that's what I got when I ran it. So I'm going to go back to 8080 and try this again. All right, add assignments, lab 1, okie dokie. All right, that one worked way better. So I've got a lab 1. You also notice that I highlighted it because it's the active assignment. And if I make a lab 2, what it should do is it should add a lab 2 to this list, and it should automatically highlight lab 2. All right, there it came in as well. So you can see that it default highlighted lab 2. You can switch it, right? But it just kind of has a default assignment of lab 2. You can also notice the name is changing up there. The other thing we should be able to do is that was our add path, and that worked out fine. Let's go ahead and click on edit delete, and let's edit one of these. And let's say that, not lab 2, that wasn't next. We actually wanted homework 1 is what I meant to add next. And so you can see that edit does the right thing, and it puts these in alphabetical order. So we highlighted homework 1. Voila! So we have a functional add, and we have a functional edit for our assignments. Great. Next up, we probably are going to add some grades. So I'll see you next time when we add some grades. See you then. Bye.